A lot of people up in arms over the recent news of a Florida juror who seems to have thrown a monkey wrench into a verdict. We're going to review the case and make sure that we have everything all straightened out. Hello out there. I am trying to get through. Let's go.
The trial ended this week with a hung jury and the four-person. The trial ended this week with a hung jury, and the foreperson says 3 jurors were unwilling to convict Rosilis based on his race.
Okay, so this is some dude who broke into a house and killed a woman. He left his DNA all over the place and his weapon. And there is no doubt that he's guilty of murder. However, a jury refused to convict him because 3 of the people on the jury decided they couldn't put a black man away for that long. And yes, it was race-based. They actually picked on the defendant's race as a reason to rule in his favor. I have never heard of a jury actually coming out and saying something like that. Maybe during the 60s, of course, the shoe would have been on the other foot at that time. But whatever the case, I have never heard this before.
They said, I don't want to send a young black male to jail for the rest of their life or have them get the death sentence.
And after 6 days of deliberation,
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my understanding you have reached a verdict.
they had Rosilis guilty of manslaughter, or so it seemed. When it came time for the foreperson to confirm the verdict in open court, she couldn't do it.
Is this your verdict?
No. Prosecutors say Rosilis broke into the 59-year-old's Davie home.
Okay, now everybody's all pissed off at her. They're saying, like, I can't believe that she's going to be letting this guy off for manslaughter. No, that's not what happened. Okay, the manslaughter deal was a compromise because these 3 jurors, not her, decided they couldn't convict a black man for murder. They decided to come up with this other charge, manslaughter, that would be more amenable to their cultural persuasions. If she had gone along with it, he would have got 15 years, probably served 5, maybe 10. She looked at that and said, no, I'm not going along with this. So she basically said no when they asked each juror to confirm their verdict. The judge was probably like, wait, what? What do we do here? He's probably never seen that before. You go through each jury member, you ask them, is this your verdict? And of course, jury members always say, yeah, but they came to her and she said, no. He must have been thinking like, do we deliberate? Do we put the jury back in the chambers to go over it some more? Do we declare a mistrial? He didn't know what to do. Love it. I just wanted to take a moment to interject something I thought was pretty funny. When the jurors came back and said that they were going to refuse to convict him of murder and were only considering a manslaughter charge, the defense was partying. They were slapping him on the back, telling him, all right, you got off, dude. And he's like, well, manslaughter? I mean, well, wait a minute here. You know, you've got 15-year maximum, but you already have served probably, I think they was serving like 7 years of that. And of course, if you're going to be in good behavior, you'll get it cut by half. You may only be in there for a couple of years. And he's like, yeah, right. So they were sitting there all partying up, couldn't believe it. And so they read the verdict, and then the judge went to each one of those jurors and said, now, is this your verdict? And each juror said, yes, yes, yes. And you could tell the defense was probably going, oh, this is so good. And all of a sudden, no. They must have sat there like, what? And of course, the accused, he's like, does this mean that I like get away with it? No, this means we have to do this all over again with a new jury, and you're going to be facing murder charges again. I wished I could have been there and saw their expressions when that one juror said no. At any rate, back to our originally scheduled program. So now we're going to hear about the crime.
intending to commit burglary, but when he found her inside, tied her up and stabbed her 24 times.
See that knife? That's not something he found laying around. He brought that with him.
His DNA found on a knife and inside the home. He was arrested, charged with murder, and 2 years later escaped from the courthouse during
Oh, that looked like a really tough one. Let's just go outside and leave.
a hearing.
I'm staring at the judge and at the clerk, and we're locking eyes, and I'm looking at each of one of them, and they're just waiting for my verdict of either yes, I agree, or no, and I just couldn't, and that's why I said no.
She
Good for you. Again, she did the right thing. Okay?
said most of the jury was ready to convict Rosilis of at least second-degree murder, but 3 refused because the defendant is black. They compromised on manslaughter, but she said she had a pit in her stomach and she changed her mind.
You guys keep saying a young black man. I don't see race. I just see a human being.
Yeah, you also have to think about liability here. Let's suppose that they had gone along with this second-degree manslaughter or whatever manslaughter charge they had, and he serves 5 years and gets out and kills somebody. Gee, that jury would be liable. Of course, they're not civilly liable. You couldn't sue them, but certainly morally liable. They knew he was a murderer, and they let him out because of his race, and he goes out and kills somebody? Yeah. I'm sorry. Even those jurors would owe a debt of gratitude towards her. And so they have a mistrial now, and they're going to have to do it all over again. Of course, this jury won't be involved in that.
And, one particular person said to me, hey, if you were outside this courtroom, you would have gotten smacked out in the street for this.
A juror who served on the Derek Chauvin murder trial is now defending a decision after this picture of him surfaced online. Now,
okay, so this is a little bit of a mashup of 3 different cases where race became an issue for a jury.
he was wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt that said, "Get your knee off our necks," a reference to George Floyd's death, and that it was taken during last year's March on Washington. He did not confirm or deny the authenticity of the picture to CNN. Let me first read these 2 questions that were on the questionnaire sent to potential jurors before selection. Second question, other than what you have already described above, have you or anyone close to you participated in protests about police use of force or police brutality?
Well, let's go back and read the t-shirt again. Get your knee off our necks. I think that's about police brutality.
In protests about police use of force or police brutality. He replied no to that.
Your experience, you believe, has shown the importance of Black men to show up for jury duty. Why do you believe that?
In order for change to happen, we got to get us to those type of avenues, get us to those rooms. We got to show up for jury duty. We have to vote. And jury duty is definitely one of those things, especially with the insane number of Black men being incarcerated. So we definitely have to get on those panels and stuff like that.
Okay, so that was probably taken out of context. I could understand his comment there, and that is there's not enough Black jury members to offset some of the unjust practices that have been going on in this country. We need more Black jurors. Okay, I can understand that one. But really, wearing a t-shirt like that and being involved in convicting somebody for that very act? Oh my God. So in the end, you had in Florida 3 jurors who simply didn't want to convict somebody because of their race. And of course, if they had said, I can't send a white person to jail, that would have been cause for protests all over the country, especially if that white person had gotten into a Black female's home and killed her. Can you imagine the outrage? But here, we're supposed to just accept it. They said that there are 2 systems of justice. I agree. Like my videos, subscribe to my channel. And by the way, I don't do this very often, but it's good to go down and read the comments once in a while. And so we have Sean Denham. This is how cowardly our society is. Man tied a woman and stabbed her several dozen times doesn't deserve his lawful punishment because his skin color? God help this brainwashed country. Yeah, that's a pretty good comment. Here's one from Biddy Dib Dab. This woman acted out racism to a new level. He got confused. Again, the video was poorly produced. It made it look like this woman was part of the three that tried to get him released because he was black. Not true. And Brian S. here, hey, a shout out to you. We need more people like Brian S. that will come in and straighten people out. And he says, actually, I just read the full news report. This video is confusing. The jurors wanted manslaughter. The foreperson, when it came down to it, disagreed because she thought he deserved murder charges. It will be retried come January, so she did the right thing. But the jury was a bunch of racists. Well, 3 of them. She went along with it until it came down to the wire. And yeah, she probably should not have gone along with this from the very get-go. But it kind of goes to show you, out of this jury, there was only one that would stand up for the right thing. Here's another one. Captain Trips. That makes absolutely 0 sense. She should be ashamed of herself. And again, he's talking about this foreperson. But he has it wrong. Not his fault, just a very poorly done video. And I'm not talking about Daily Caller, I'm talking about the original source video. Time's Up says, my God, you two are real dolts. That one not showing her face was the one standing up to object to the other racist jurors refusing to convict a black man. Okay, so I wanted to give out a couple of shout outs there. We need more people willing to go into the comments section and straighten people out. I don't think name calling really helps, but whatever. Get in there. If you see somebody trying to pass on misinformation, correct the record. Like my video, subscribe to my channel.